Hello all, this is Brett Souza of the Souza Group, and we are on to our second round of the Meet the Expert series. Today we have Bryan Aguirre, a principal partner with Capital Insurance Partners here in the DC area. I'm going to give Bryan an opportunity here to tell you a little bit about himself.
Hello everyone, thank you Brett. Yes, I am an insurance agent. I'm an independent agent with Capital Insurance Partners. So what that means is we represent multiple carriers. We're not married to one carrier, but we're independent. We're in Washington, DC. So I have about 11 years of experience in the insurance industry. I've worked with different models, but at this point, I'm a partner at Capital Insurance Partners. We're an independent agency. So happy to help at any point and advise here. So reach out at any point.
Great. So we wanted to take this opportunity to answer a couple of questions that a lot of people tend to ask people like Bryan when they're looking for insurance. And the first one was, what are a lot of common gaps that you see in coverage that a lot of other people miss?
Yeah, good question. So coverage gaps, really, this is the focus of this conversation, which is insurance really means nothing unless your coverage is structured the right way. And there's lots of gaps that can be between different carriers. So really identifying what are those gaps and what are the problems in a policy, because really premiums mean nothing without proper coverage. So what I would emphasize, a couple things to look at if you're doing a quick evaluation of your policy. Is my home insured? Is the dwelling coverage accurate, which is the cost to rebuild the home? And really, before we get into that, you're relying on the agent or call center who structured this policy to make sure your coverage is correct. And so as we look at these gaps, dwelling coverage being accurate, so that's what is the cost to rebuild my home? That's that much more important, especially in the past 2 years as construction costs have risen. So dwelling coverage being adequate, something to review. Water backup. Water is a big issue with insurance companies. So you want to make sure, do I have water coverage on my policy? Internal water flooding and external. External is not included with insurance. And if you're in a flood zone, you want to look at making sure that you have flood coverage. But internal flood coverage would be backing up of a pipe bursting, or a toilet backing up. So water backup has to be endorsed on a policy or it's not covered. Then there's service line coverage, covering your pipes from the street to the house. That's very common. Coverage that's often not included. So ask about service line coverage. Then the industry is also adjusted with roofing and siding coverage. So that has to be added onto a policy. So those would be some coverages to evaluate.
All right. Our second question would be, what would you say is the difference between a standard and a high value carrier?
Yeah, so there are two types of insurance companies, standard and high value. And it has nothing to do really with the cost of your home, the market value. It more has to do with the features of your home, the size of your home, and its cost to rebuild. So standard insurance companies are insuring average homes, rebuilds of $400,000 to $500,000. High value insurance companies specialize in insuring historic homes and also rebuilds north of $1 million or north of 750. So really what trigger points you need to ask is, do I have coverage to rebuild historic or custom features? And that's where, a standard carrier, like for example, a State Farm, if you have a very unique historic feature, they would not authorize the historic rebuild of that finish. And so if you have a historic home, usually homes north of 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, standard carriers become uncomfortable with that size of home, therefore their pricing might be off. So really, custom, historic, or large homes you might want to consider a high value carrier, which oftentimes actually may be cheaper, believe it or not, because that is their sweet spot. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, and then our last question for the folks today would be, what are a couple of ways that they could save on their insurance policy?
Yeah, and gets back to the original comment. Price means nothing without coverage. So my emphasis will be, if you're looking to save, increase your deductible and use your insurance for the right things. That can help you save, but also bundling. We've all heard that phrase, bundle your insurance, but increase that deductible. I wouldn't cut coverages out. I'd look to increase that deductible and look to bundle your auto, home, and umbrella policy.
Excellent. Well, Bryan, we'll get you out of here. We really appreciate the insight and the expertise that you provide. I know you've helped several of our Souza Group clients over the last few years. Again, just wanted to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.